And we knew we had to do damage control from the start because people would look at it as another hood movie. So we had to take, very precise care of it.
In Menace II Society, today, it's like it won't die. Movie, iconic, great. But people come up to you and say, you raised me.
32 years ago, a film detonated on American screens like a live grenade rolled into a movie theater. No warning, no apology, just raw, unfiltered, gut-punching truth. Menace II Society didn't just show you the streets. It made you feel the asphalt under your feet, smell the gun smoke in the air, and hear the silence after everything went wrong. But here's the thing about a film this powerful. What you saw on screen was only half the story. Behind the camera, a war was being fought, feuds that escalated into actual violence, a superstar rapper who got fired and then came back swinging, literally, gang members who weren't acting, real bullets that shut down production. A rating so extreme the studio nearly killed the whole film, and two young black men, just 20 years old, who somehow turned all of that chaos into one of the most critically acclaimed debuts in cinema history. Today, we are going inside the film that changed everything. 28 secrets, buried for decades, that will completely change how you see Menace II Society. Let's get into it. Secret number 1. The directors were only 20 years old. Here's a fact that still doesn't feel real no matter how many times you read it. When Alan and Albert Hughes, the twin brothers who directed Menace II Society, wrapped the film, they hadn't yet celebrated their 21st birthday. Think about that. They hadn't even reached the legal drinking age in America, and they were already delivering one of the most viscerally powerful directorial debuts in the history of American cinema. The Hughes brothers had grown up in the greater Los Angeles area and had sharpened their craft directing music videos, over 30 of them, for artists including Tupac Shakur and Tone Loc. But a music video is 3 minutes. Menace II Society was a full-length feature film set in one of the most dangerous neighborhoods in the country, with real gang members around every corner, a volatile cast, and a studio breathing down their necks. And they pulled it off. Not just pulled it off, they made something that Roger Ebert and Gene Siskel both put on their 10 best films of 1993 lists. At 20 years old, ask yourself, what were you doing at 20? Secret number 2. Spice One was originally cast as Kane. Before Tyrone Turner ever set foot on that Watts set, the lead role of Kane Lawson belonged to someone entirely different. West Coast rapper Spice One, known for his raw, street-level storytelling on tracks like Welcome to the Ghetto, was the Hughes brothers' original choice for the starring role. The connection made sense. The Hughes brothers had directed several of Spice One's music videos and already had a working relationship with him. Spice One also reportedly claimed he was considered for the role of O-Dog at some point. But after communication errors between Spice One and his management created problems in the early stages, he was let go from the project. That opened the door for Tyrone Turner, whose face you may recognize from Janet Jackson's extended Rhythm Nation video, to step in and deliver one of the most haunting, emotionally layered performances of the 1990s. The performance critics said should have launched him into superstardom. Imagine the film with an entirely different Kane. The chemistry, the energy, the arc, all of it different. Sometimes the wrong things have to fall apart so the right things can fall into place. Secret number 3. Eazy-E was considered for O-Dog. The casting secrets run even deeper. In 2023, Alan Hughes dropped a bombshell revelation. NWA legend Eazy-E was at one point considered for the role of O-Dog, the same O-Dog that Lorenz Tate turned into one of the most terrifying characters in 1990s film.
O-Dog was the craziest nigga alive. America's nightmare.
According to Hughes, it never progressed because he found Eazy-E to be controlling on set. So the role that could have belonged to one of the architects of gangsta rap went instead to a young actor from the south side of Chicago, making his feature film debut. And what a debut it was. Secret number 4. MC Ren turned down a wax to join the Nation of Islam. Before MC8 became the menacing A-Wax, that role belonged to MC Ren, the notoriously underrated lyricist from NWA. Ren was locked in to play the role, but in late 1992, he converted to the Nation of Islam and turned the part down. His new faith led him away from a project centered on the very street violence he had once rapped about. That created the opening for Compton rapper MC8 to step in. And here's something fascinating about MC8's performance. According to reports, he ad-libbed most of his lines, pulling from authentic lived experience to make AWACS feel completely real. The studio had actually mandated that a platinum rapper be cast in the film, so MC8's arrival was not accidental. It was a requirement embedded in the film's deal with New Line Cinema. Secret number 5. Tupac Shakur was fired and then attacked the director. This is the story everyone has heard pieces of, but the full picture is even more dramatic than the legend. When New Line Cinema agreed to finance Menace II Society, there was a condition attached. A prominent rapper had to be cast in the film. The Feuds brothers had previously directed Tupac Shakur's music video for Brenda's Got a Baby and had a working relationship with him, though by their own admission, they were already aware he could be difficult. They cast him anyway, in the role of Sharif, Kane's Muslim friend, described in the script as an ex-knucklehead turned Muslim. And this is where the tension began. Tupac did not want to play Sharif. While every other rapper in the cast was playing roles closer to their gangsta rap personas, Tupac was being asked to portray a stoic, pious Muslim. He had serious objections, not just about prestige, but about authenticity. He couldn't understand why a kid from the inner city would turn Muslim without a deeper backstory to explain it. He asked the Feuds brothers to write that backstory into the script. They refused. According to MC8, every time we got ready to rehearse, he had an opinion about his character.
Tupac shouldn't have been gangbanging.
He wanted them to write in the script why he turned Muslim. Tupac was quoted as saying, "Fire me from this movie because I ain't gonna play no gangbanger who's a Muslim. There ain't no such thing. I refuse to play parts that don't exist." He began arriving late to rehearsals. He resisted table reads. The friction became impossible to manage. The Feuds brothers fired him, and Tupac didn't take it quietly. 6 months after his dismissal, when the Feuds brothers were on set shooting the music video for Spice One's Trigga Got's No Heart, a track from the Menace II Society soundtrack, Tupac showed up with a large group of people. What followed was a brutal physical altercation. According to Spice One, Alan Hughes walked away looking like he had stepped out of a horror film. Tupac was charged with assault and battery. But what sealed his fate in court? Tupac had gone on Yo MTV Raps and bragged about the fight on camera. That tape was played as evidence at his trial. He was sentenced to 15 days in jail. Years later, Alan Hughes, reflecting on all of it, said something that stopped everyone cold. If Pac had been in the movie, he would have outshined everyone. It would have thrown the whole axis of the movie off if Tupac was in it because he was bigger than the movie. The greatest compliment, the most complicated eulogy. Secret number 6. The studio mandated Tupac's casting, and the directors didn't want him. Here's the layer that most people miss in the Tupac story. According to MC8, the Feuds brothers didn't actually want Tupac in the film at all. They knew his work ethic from the music video world and had their doubts. But New Line Cinema essentially made it a condition of financing. Get a recognizable rapper with star power attached. So the brothers cast Tupac in the smallest role they could, Sharif, the reformed Muslim, banking on the fact that his dissatisfaction with the role might give them an easy exit later. Whether that was strategic or just a practical compromise, it played out exactly as anyone paying attention might have predicted. Tupac was frustrated, conflict escalated, and eventually he was gone. The film survived. But the behind-the-scenes chess match between the studio, the directors, and one of rap's biggest stars was real, and nobody involved seemed entirely clean. Secret number 7. Real gang members worked as security and extras. When the production of Menace II Society moved to the streets of Watts, the Feuds brothers made a decision that was either brilliantly bold or recklessly dangerous, and possibly both. Residents of the Jordan Downs housing project, a predominantly Crip-affiliated area of Watts, were hired as background actors. And to manage the security of the set while filming in that deeply territorial neighborhood, the production coordinated directly with members of the Grape Street Watts Crips. This wasn't a Hollywood set with fake tension. Real gang members were on location, moving through scenes, providing authenticity that no casting director could manufacture. If you look closely at the outdoor scenes in the film, you can spot people wearing blue and purple bandanas, not as costumes, but as the actual colors of the streets they lived on. The Hughes brothers understood something fundamental. You can't fake Watts. You either go there, or you don't go at all. Secret number 8. Rival gang members shot up the set. And sometimes going there has consequences. During principal photography at Jordan Downs, deep in Crip territory, members of the Hacienda Village Bloods showed up and opened fire on the set. Production was immediately shut down. For 2 days, the entire film came to a stop because the neighborhood rivalry that the movie was exploring had literally invaded the film itself. No one was reported killed, but the incident was a stark reminder that the world being depicted in Menace II Society was not a fiction for the people who lived it. The cast and crew weren't just making a movie about danger, they were inside it. When the cameras went back up, everyone on that set knew they were operating in a real war zone. Secret number 9. The film was originally heading for an NC-17 rating. When Menace II Society was initially assembled, the Motion Picture Association of America hit it with the worst possible rating for a mainstream commercial release, NC-17. That rating would have effectively killed the film's chances at wide release, blocked it from most theaters, and choked off any advertising. The Hughes brothers and producers had to go back in and re-edit scenes of bloody gun violence to bring the film down to an R rating. According to a Hollywood Reporter article from March 1993, those cuts were significant, the kind of surgical removal that changes the texture of a film even if it preserves the story. And here's the part that has never sat right with fans. A full prison riot sequence was cut entirely to avoid the NC-17. Not trimmed, gone. And here's what's truly maddening. Even the director's cut DVD and Blu-ray, which restored other content that had been cut for the same rating reasons, does not include the prison riot scene. According to the Hughes brothers themselves, that sequence remains off the table. Think about that. There are scenes from Menace II Society that no one, not even the most dedicated fans who own the director's cut, has ever seen. Secret number 10. A scene was cut because the actor was too gangster. Among the various scenes that didn't make the final cut, one stands out for an almost absurd reason. A scene was removed from the finished film because the actor in it was, in the words of the production, too gangster, and had no narrative connection to the rest of the story. No further names were given, no description of what the scene contained, just the extraordinary situation of a film about gang life having to cut someone for being too authentically embedded in that life. It raises a question that the film itself constantly grapples with. Where is the line between authentic portrayal and exploitation, and who gets to draw it? Secret number 11. Twin girls with a violent storyline were cut from the script. The original screenplay included 2 female characters, twin girls, who would have been part of Kane's circle. Their role in the story would have involved robbery, and their inclusion would have expanded several scenes featuring Kane. But they were written out of the script entirely before filming began. Their absence is one of the film's quiet what-ifs. Menace II Society is, for almost its entire runtime, a story told from and about the male experience in South Central. These twin girls, had they remained, might have shifted the film's gender lens in ways that would have made it even more layered. Secret number 12. The liquor store scene shows the film crew in a mirror. Here's one for the sharpest-eyed viewers in the room. During the opening liquor store scene, that brutal, explosive sequence that opens the film like a thunderclap, a camera error made it into the finished cut. When O-Dog takes the Korean store owner's wife hostage, there is a ceiling mirror visible in the shot. And if you look carefully, you can see the film crew reflected in it. The people operating cameras, standing in a space that is supposed to be empty. Pause the film, look at that mirror. The fiction becomes reality, and the reality becomes fiction, all in one glance. Secret number 13. MC Ite ad-libbed most of his lines. The menacing, unforgettable presence of AWACS in Menace II Society was not entirely the product of a written script. MC8, the Compton rapper playing the role, improvised the majority of his dialogue. drawing from his real experiences and the authentic language of the streets he came from. This is a remarkable creative choice by the Feuds brothers. They essentially gave a rapper with no formal acting training the freedom to speak in his own voice, and what emerged was one of the film's most believable performances. The authenticity of AWACS is, in a very literal sense, the authenticity of MC8 himself. Secret number 14. A scene had to be dubbed because of air traffic. In the scene where Chauncey receives information about a car to steal, featuring Clifton Powell, the dialogue was completely unusable when the scene was filmed because of aircraft noise. The area where they were shooting was directly under flight traffic, and the sound was contaminated beyond rescue. Both actors had to return and re-record all of their dialogue in post-production. What sounds natural and effortless in the finished film was actually a technical reconstruction, pieced back together in a studio after the fact. Secret number 15. The film's budget was only $3.5 million, and it made $30 million. Consider the financial reality of what the Feuds brothers pulled off. New Line Cinema gave them $3.5 million to make Menace II Society. By one account from a Hollywood Reporter review, the film may have actually been completed for as little as $2.5 million. Against that tiny investment, the film grossed approximately $30 million worldwide, with over $27.9 million coming from the United States and Canada alone. It opened on Memorial Day weekend 1993 in 464 theaters, taking in $3.8 million in its opening weekend. Not a #1 debut, but a genuine cultural eruption. A return of nearly 10 times the investment from two 20-year-olds for a film the studio almost couldn't release because it was too violent. Secret number 16. It premiered at the Cannes Film Festival. Before Menace II Society hit American theaters, it made its world premiere at the prestigious Cannes Film Festival, specifically in the Director's Fortnight section, which is dedicated to bold, innovative first and second features. Let that sit for a moment. A film about drug dealing, gang violence, and death in the housing projects of Watts, Los Angeles, born from a $3.5 million budget, directed by two black 20-year-olds, was celebrated at Cannes, the most famous film festival in the world. The Feuds brothers walked the Cannes red carpet before most people in America even knew their names. This was not a coincidence. This was a statement. Secret number 17. It beat Schindler's List and Jurassic Park for Best Movie at the MTV Movie Awards. The year was 1994. The MTV Movie Awards presented its award for Best Movie. The nominees included The Fugitive, Philadelphia, Jurassic Park, Schindler's List, Steven Spielberg's Holocaust masterpiece that would go on to win the Academy Award for Best Picture that same year. Menace II Society won. A gritty, no-budget hood film from two young black directors beat some of the most celebrated films of the decade at a nationally televised awards show. It was a moment of recognition from an audience, young, diverse, culturally tuned in, that understood something the more formal awards bodies were slower to acknowledge. Secret number 18. This was Jada Pinkett's theatrical film debut. Before Jada Pinkett Smith was one of Hollywood's most recognizable names, before Set It Off, before Ally, before The Matrix Reloaded, there was Ronnie. Menace II Society was Jada Pinkett's theatrical motion picture debut. She had done television work before, but this was her first appearance on the big screen, and she delivered a performance of devastating warmth and quiet desperation. A woman trying to pull someone she loved out of a world that was consuming him. The film gave the world Jada Pinkett as a movie actress, and the world has never forgotten it. Secret number 19. It was Larenz Tate's feature film debut too. The same is true for the young man who played the film's most electrifying character, O-Dog, the terrifying, impulsive, casually violent best friend who drives so much of the film's carnage, was Larenz Tate's feature film debut. Tate was from the south side of Chicago, and he brought something to O-Dog that no amount of directing could manufacture, a coiled, unpredictable energy that made every scene he was in feel like a wire about to snap. Critics called his performance star-making. One reviewer described him as a powerhouse who practically vibrated with menace, and yet, this was his first film, his very first. Secret number 20. Samuel L. Jackson played Kane's father in a flashback. Before he was Nick Fury, before Pulp Fiction, which coincidentally would also be released in 1993, Samuel L. Jackson appeared in Menace II Society in a brief but searing flashback role as Kane's father, Tat Lawson. In the scene, the young Kane watches his father shoot and kill a man during a card game over something petty. It is the original sin of the film, the moment that sets every domino falling. Jackson delivers it with a chilling casualness that burns itself into your memory. It was a small role for a man on the verge of becoming one of cinema's biggest stars. But Jackson brought his full intensity to it, and that intensity is why the flashback haunts the film long after the credits roll. Secret number 21. The screenplay was co-written with their friend Tiger Williams. The script for Menace II Society was not solely the work of the Feuds brothers. They wrote it with their close friend Tiger Williams, a collaboration that gave the screenplay its specific emotional texture and authenticity. Williams brought personal insight to the story that grounded it beyond the purely cinematic. The dialogue in the film has a quality that critics repeatedly flagged. It sounds like conversations that actually happened.
Oh, hell no, man. Keisha, she gonna be at the motherfucking party, niggas? I'm on my faded.
Not lines written for dramatic effect. The slang, the cadence, the rhythms of how people actually talked in South Central in the early 1990s that came from people who had lived inside those rhythms. Secret number 22. The screenplay's original title was different. When the Feuds brothers and Tiger Williams first developed the screenplay, the film had a different title. It was only during the course of bringing it to production that it became Menace II Society, a title that functions on multiple levels simultaneously, implicating both the characters within it and the systems that shaped them. The final title captures the film's central tension. Who exactly is the menace? Is it Kane? Is it O-Dog? Or is it the society that created them, failed them, and then condemned them? Secret number 23. The Watts riot footage at the opening is real archival material. The film opens not with fiction, but with history. The pixelated, grainy footage of the 1965 Watts riots that begins Menace II Society is real archival material, sourced from the Sherman Grinberg film libraries and credited in the film's end titles. The choice is deliberate and devastating. It establishes that the violence being depicted is not new, not invented, and not isolated. It is the continuation of something that began decades before Kane was born. The riots, sparked by a traffic stop in a black neighborhood, inflamed by systemic neglect, are the origin point from which the film draws a direct line to the early 1990s. The pixelation was also a conscious artistic decision. It creates a sense of tension and confusion that mirrors the chaos of that moment in history. You're not watching a clean historical document. You're watching a wound that never properly healed. Secret number 24. Real violence connected to the film happened after its release. The impact of Menace II Society was not limited to the screen. After the film's theatrical release, incidents of real-world violence were directly linked to it. Hollywood Reporter documented multiple incidents in late 1993 and early 1994. Most disturbingly, a young man in Albuquerque, New Mexico, imitated the convenience store robbery carried out by Kane and O-Dog in the film's opening sequence. He replicated it, directly, from the movie. The filmmakers had set out to make an anti-violence film, pairing brutal imagery with Marvin Gaye's What's Going On to create moral weight around the carnage. But the very authenticity that made the film powerful also made it dangerous in the wrong hands. The line between portrayal and instruction is thinner than anyone wants to admit. Secret number 25. The soundtrack went to number 1 on the R&B charts. The musical identity of Menace II Society was as carefully constructed as its visual one. The soundtrack, released on May 26, 1993 by Jive Records on the same day as the film, featured some of the most important voices in West Coast hip-hop of the era: MC8, Spice One, Too Short, DJ Quick, and others. It peaked at number 11 on the Billboard 200 and number 1 on the top R&B/hip-hop albums chart. For 6 weeks, it sat at the top of that chart. This wasn't just a film that resonated visually. It resonated sonically, culturally, in every direction simultaneously. The soundtrack was its own cultural event. Secret number 26. The Criterion Collection released the director's cut on Laserdisc in 1994. In January 1994, just months after the film's theatrical release, the Criterion Collection put out the director's cut of Menace II Society on Laserdisc. This was a remarkable sign of prestige. The Criterion Collection, which is dedicated to preserving important films in definitive editions, recognized the Feuds brothers' debut as worthy of that treatment almost immediately. This was one of Criterion's first major releases of a contemporary African-American film in a definitive format. The move validated not just the film, but the genre, and signaled that the Feuds brothers were being taken seriously by the gatekeepers of cinema. In 2021, Criterion announced the film would be part of its first-ever 4K Ultra HD release slate. Secret number 27. Entertainment. Weekly named it one of the 50 greatest independent films. In a 1997 special supplement distributed to subscribers, Entertainment Weekly named Menace II Society one of the 50 greatest independent films ever made. This was recognition that extended far beyond its moment of release. 4 years after the film came out, critics and film historians were still placing it among the most important, independently produced works in American film history. Not one of the best hood films, not one of the best black films, one of the 50 best independent films, full stop. The Feuds brothers were 20 years old when they made it. By 1997, it was already considered a classic. Secret number 28. Alan Hughes later said Tupac would have outshined everyone and broke the film. We end where so much of the mythology of Menace II Society began, with the ghost of Tupac Shakur, who never appeared in a single frame of the finished film, but whose presence haunts every conversation about it. After Tupac's death in September 1996,
the prolific rapper and actor Tupac Shakur died in Las Vegas.
Alan Hughes gave an interview to MTV News in 2013 that crystallized the complicated legacy of the whole saga. If Pac had been in the movie, he would have outshined everyone. It would have thrown the whole axis of the movie off if Tupac was in it, because he was bigger than the movie. Let that statement breathe. The director who fired Tupac, who pressed charges after being assaulted by him, who endured years of the fallout, is saying that Tupac would have been so electrifying, so magnetically dominant, that he would have unbalanced the entire film. That the movie we got, the one that made Roger Ebert's Best of the Year list, the one that beat Schindler's List at the MTV Movie Awards, the one Criterion canonized, might have been worse with Tupac in it. Not because Tupac wasn't talented, but because he was too talented, too big, too much. So a conflict that began in ego escalated into violence and ended in a courtroom may have, inadvertently, saved the artistic integrity of one of the greatest American films of the 1990s. History has a sense of irony that no screenwriter would dare put on paper. 28 secrets, and every single one of them is true. Menace II Society was never supposed to be easy. It was supposed to be honest, and honesty at that level, the kind that gets shot at, nearly rated into oblivion, and born from two 20-year-olds who refuse to blink, is extraordinarily rare. Here's what I want you to sit with. This film was made for $3.5 million. The people behind it were barely old enough to vote. They filmed in a neighborhood where the crew was literally fired upon. They lost a superstar, gained a lawsuit, fought the ratings board, and still delivered something that Cannes celebrated, Criterion preserved, and millions of people around the world have never forgotten. And 32 years later, we're still talking about it. Now I have a question for you, and I genuinely want to know. Which of these secrets shocked you the most? Was it the Tupac assault? The real gang members on set? The prison riot scene that still doesn't exist anywhere you can watch it? Drop your answer in the comments right now. Let's build this conversation. And if you're someone who has watched Menace II Society more times than you can count, did any of these change how you see it? Did you look at that liquor store mirror scene differently just now? Because that's what the best secrets do. They don't just reveal information. They reframe everything you thought you already knew. If this video hit different, share it with someone who loves this film. Subscribe if you want more deep dives like this, more buried history, more untold stories. more of the truth behind the movies that shaped us. The streets of Watts are still talking. We just have to be willing to listen.